Hi, this is Joe Walensky. I'm the program manager at ConveyUX and talking with one of our presenters coming up at our event in February. And I'm pleased to have a chance to chat with Jon Bell today. Hello, John. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Well, I'm in Seattle today. Where are you talking to us from?
Also Seattle.
All right, I knew that. What neighborhood are you at?
I'm in the Ravenna neighborhood
All right,
near
well,
the U University.
that's a cool place. Well, for people that might not be familiar with your background, why don't you talk a little bit about what you where you come from, what types of things you're currently working on, that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Right now I work at Twitter. I'm one of two designers in the Seattle office at Twitter. I've been doing that for a while. Before that, I redesigned Office for Windows Phone and other small screens at Microsoft. Before that, I was a design lead on Windows Phone. Before that, I was at Frog Design doing all kinds of stuff, mostly behind NDA. And then the other thing I do is I actually teach design classes. So I love to talk and I love to teach and design.
Well, with all the things that you're involved in, what are some of the things that you're currently doing? What's kind of your passion? Are there any activities you're involved with for work or personal that you're particularly interested in right now?
Well, as I've gotten older and I've gone into the sort of the later stages of my career, I've noticed that there's a lot of misunderstandings about design. I think a lot of younger designers learn certain things in art school and then they get really surprised when they enter a place like Microsoft or Twitter. So my design classes are, most of them are aimed at non-designers, but I also have some designer ones. So I love just kind of the sort of real talk angle. Like instead of talking at an abstract level about great design, which I think everybody does, I try to like really get into the weeds and really describe like no, like for example, I designed Skype for Windows Phone. Here's how it looks. Here's why. Here are the trade-offs, and let's talk about it. So that's something that's really interesting to me.
Well, I know the first time that I think that I connected with you and your name was you'd written an article related to a Reddit. I don't know if it was an Ask Me Anything. It
Yeah.
was a few years ago related to your work on Windows Phone, and it was just such a fun thing to read because it wasn't gossip, but you got into a lot of the details about why things happen with the design and it I think it'd be nice if we had more of that. Unfortunately, it seems like more and more organizations are you know more closed mouthed about the process of how you actually get things out the door, and I just enjoyed that. So it was a lot of fun. I think you enjoyed that opportunity as well.
I did, and it's interesting. It got way more popular than I thought it would. But yeah, I realized it's exactly what you said. Like a lot of people, I think, are not allowed to talk about the nitty gritty and the ins and outs of why something was done. So, if I were to get up on stage and throw someone under the bus and call somebody stupid, that's of course inappropriate. But to get up on stage and say like, "Hey, I was a design lead on Windows Phone, and here's what happened with Metro, and here's what we discovered about panoramas and like all this kind of nitty gritty details." I think there's a real appetite for that, and that's something I'm really looking forward to talking about more because I think it teaches people and it makes these designs feel a lot more human. That humans that are smart really thought about this, and it's not just some arbitrary design decision that they just threw out there because they didn't think about it.
Well, one of the things that I thought interested me about that article, just as a practitioner, was that you really, I mean, you got into all the details of like why this approach was valid, but then you didn't go down that route, and why something else came in, and then that ended up the way that things went. Plus the business realities that may have nothing to do, well, nothing explicitly to do with the design phase, and I'd like to be able to, hopefully see more of that. People be able to talk about that type of thing.
Yeah, I wrote a thing a while back called Design Explosions, and I was comparing Google Maps versus Apple Maps, and it ended up being 10,000 words. Uh, but the three concepts was okay, number one, assume that the people that worked on this are smart. Number two, assume that there are things that you just can't know on the outside. And then number three, let's not judge, let's try to learn. And that, when you have that lens, you stop going like, I just hate Apple Maps, and you start going, well, okay, why might they have done this? And it's a much more empathetic approach. And again, much like the Reddit article, I really hit a nerve. In fact, people at Google and Apple that are not allowed to say anything wrote me on the side and said, "You got it, you got it. Like all the trade-offs that you described. Thank you for finally saying it because we can't say it because we work there now." I always think of a tugboat. If you look at a tugboat and somebody were to say, "Is that a good boat, true or false?" Like, what do you think? It would be foolish to say too early if you think it's good or bad before you know the job it's trying to solve. So if I said to you, like, well, I need a boat that pulls things, well, okay, then that's good. Or I need a boat that goes super fast. Well, okay, that's bad. And I think a lot of design goes through that. There is no right or wrong design. There's just this crazy matrix of trade-offs. It makes for a really meaty discussion.
And you mentioned design explosions, and that's the topic that you're going to be presenting at the conference Design Explosions Live. So maybe just talk briefly about where your idea. Well, you talked a little bit about where your idea came from on that, but what types of things you're going to go over in that session.
Well, I think it'll be a surprise, the product that I'm going to explode and talk through. Um, but yeah, I mean, someone coming to the talk, I think what you can expect is I'm not going to do the thing where I show up and I'm like, hey, I'm going to share my creative journey. I always liked drawing, and then I did art, and then I tried making great stuff. Here are 5 screens. Go for it. Any questions? I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go up. I'm going to show an app, hopefully one that many people are familiar with and use every day. And then I'm just going to go through all we're just going to describe it. We're going to be like, all right, let's look at the navigation. Let's look at the information architecture. Why might they have done this versus that? What are the trade-offs? I think explosions really is the right word for it because it's like peeling an onion. You just get going, and there's a lot of detail there. So yeah, my hope is that it'll be fun for me. I know that because this stuff is fun for me. My hope for people watching is that you leave having a really deep appreciation of just all these trade-offs and why all this stuff is way more complicated than it seems. And hopefully, if I pick an app that people don't like, what I hope is that we can at least inject some empathy. Like, hey, you might not like it, but you can probably understand how a company might have shipped this, but because of this and this and this reason.
Mm. All right, great. Well, yeah, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with me about this stuff today, and we'll get together here in Seattle in February for the conference.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks a lot, John.
All right. Bye.